more than 3 million pages, 2,000 videos, and 180,000 images. CNN teams are carefully sifting through the largest, and what the Justice Department says is the last, batch of Jeffrey Epstein files. It's an enormous trove of documents, and it includes references to some of the richest and most powerful people on the planet. That includes the current president, a former president, cabinet secretaries, a former prime minister, billionaires, and the list goes on and on and on. The Justice Department says tonight that its job is done.
We complied with the statute, we complied with the act, and there is no, we did not protect President Trump, we didn't protect or not protect anybody. I mean, I think that there's a hunger or a thirst for information that I do not think will be satisfied by the review of these documents.
I should note that just because someone is mentioned in these documents does not mean that they've been accused of wrongdoing or did anything wrong. Many of these claims are unverified or they rely on secondhand information. But these are the key findings our team has uncovered so far, and I should note, millions of pages have come out. We are still digging right now in this hour. Donald Trump's name appears thousands of times in these new documents. In some, he's merely mentioned in emails that Jeffrey Epstein sent to other people. But the files also contain a complaint from a woman who accused Trump of raping her in 1994 when she was just 13 years old. According to the FBI document, this accuser, who is identified as Jane Doe, said that Jeffrey Epstein was, quote, angry that Trump was the one to take her virginity and that she was also raped by Jeffrey Epstein. This woman had previously launched lawsuits against Trump and dropped them. The last one happened right before the 2016 election. The president has previously denied these allegations. Also included in today's release was a list of sexual assault allegations related to the president compiled by the FBI in August, many of which appear to have come from unverified tips. We don't know why tonight the FBI made this list, and there are more than a dozen allegations that are included in it. But recall what the president has previously said about these documents, about the Jeffrey Epstein files. He said that they are a hoax and that the release of them could ruin people's reputations.
3 million pages just detonated in Washington, and within minutes it became clear. This wasn't transparency, this wasn't closure, and it definitely wasn't what the Justice Department expected the public to walk away with. What we witnessed instead was a silent political explosion, the kind that doesn't burn the room down instantly, but slowly suffocates every powerful name caught inside it. Because when this final batch of Epstein material dropped, millions of raw files, thousands of videos, and nearly 200,000 images, the shock wasn't just in the scale. It was in who appeared inside, how often they appeared, and how their carefully crafted public stories suddenly collided with what the documents actually showed. And the strangest part is that this wasn't a leak. It wasn't a scandal breaking through the back door. The DOJ stepped up to the microphone and basically said, "We're finished, here it is, all of it." Then walked out of the room, no explanations. No disclaimers, no context, just the biggest information dump in the Epstein saga and a Washington political establishment scrambling to figure out what comes next. Because the moment reporters started scrolling through pages, one name appeared again and again. Donald Trump. Not once, not a dozen times. Thousands. Sometimes in passing, sometimes in emails Epstein sent to others, and sometimes in deeply controversial allegations that have hovered around Trump for years. Suddenly, everything he dismissed as a hoax was sitting in public view, attached to an agency he himself once controlled. But while Trump's orbit lit up like a flare, something equally shocking happened on the other side of the political battlefield. Bill Clinton did not retreat. He did not deflect. He stepped forward and demanded the release of every single remaining Epstein document, including anything involving Trump. And that's when the temperature in Washington broke into a full boil. To understand why this moment is so unstable, you have to start with the release itself. The DOJ described it as the final batch. That phrase matters. It signals, we're done. This is everything. 3 million pages is not an investigation. It's a library. And inside that library is everything from emails and tip logs to internal agency summaries and interview references. Yet even with its massive size, most readers were shocked to see how little clarity these documents actually provide. Instead of answers, they created more questions. Instead of closure, they fueled confusion. And instead of protecting victims, as officials promised, the release exposed survivors' names while leaving some of the most powerful men involved shielded by redactions. Even in the opening hours, analysts noticed the same pattern. Mentions were frequent, details were thin, and context was missing. You could read 50 pages and still have no idea how one statement connected to another. And that's why the DOJ's insistence that we didn't protect anyone fell flat instantly. Not because people assume wrongdoing, but because the files sit in a murky place between accusation and evidence, between rumor and record. They're raw snapshots, suggestive, incomplete, and politically radioactive. That's exactly where Donald Trump's name enters the picture. According to the documents, his name shows up thousands of times. Some of the appearances are mundane, Epstein referencing him in conversations with others, scheduling matters, casual notes. But then come the darker mentions, including a resurfaced claim from a woman identified as Jane Doe, who previously accused Trump of raping her in 1994 when she was 13 years old. In the FBI summary, the woman said Epstein was angry that Trump was the one to take her virginity, and she claimed Epstein later assaulted her as well. These allegations were part of lawsuits that were withdrawn years ago, and Trump has denied them repeatedly. No charges have ever been filed, no criminal findings exist, but the presence of these allegations inside an FBI summary, especially one filled with unverified tips, reignites a controversy that has lingered around the edges of Trump's political life. And the FBI summary itself raises questions. Why did the Bureau compile a list of accusations without including interview transcripts or the underlying evidence? Why were these summaries included in the final release when so many other parts of the investigation remain redacted or missing? Even DOJ officials admitted they don't fully understand why the list was constructed the way it was. That uncertainty feeds speculation, and speculation is exactly what Trump has tried to shut down for years by calling these files fabricated, political, and corrupt. Yet now, the documents are being released under an administration he controlled, by officials he appointed, and they contradict his narrative at every turn. But Trump wasn't the only powerful figure whose public claims unraveled today. The documents reveal unexpected details about Elon Musk, details that sharply contradict what he has said publicly. Last year, Musk posted in all caps that Epstein tried to get me to go to his island, and I refused. Strong statement. Definitive. End of story. Except the newly released emails show something very different. In 2012 and 2013, Musk emailed Epstein about coordinating visits to the island. One message asked, "What day would be the wildest party on your island?" Another asked, "When should we head to your island?" These aren't casual references. They indicate planning, coordination, and interest. Musk hasn't responded to requests for comment, and the emails alone don't prove wrongdoing. But they do contradict the story he has pushed publicly. And that contradiction is enough to pull one of the most powerful figures in tech directly into the same gravitational field that has pulled down politicians, financiers, and celebrities for years. Then there's Howard Lutnick, Trump's commerce secretary. He gave a very polished public account of a 2005 visit to Epstein's Manhattan townhouse. He said he saw a massage table, felt disturbed, and vowed never to be alone with Epstein again. The story presented him as someone who recognized danger immediately and distanced himself. But inside the documents released today, there are multiple references to continued contact long after 2005. One message from 2011 documents a scheduled meeting. Another is literally titled, "Drinks with Howard Lutnick." In 2015, Lutnick even invited Epstein to a Hillary Clinton fundraiser he hosted. Lutnick's spokesperson insists that he always met Epstein in the presence of his wife, that he has never been accused of wrongdoing, and that his interactions were limited. Those things may all be true, but the documents complicate the clean, neat timeline he presented publicly. And in a scandal where perception often carries more weight than facts, those complications matter. While powerful men scramble to manage their public narratives, Epstein's survivors are experiencing something else entirely. They were promised privacy, they were told their names and identifying details would be protected. And yet, when the files dropped today, survivors discovered their names unredacted on pages where nearly everything else, from locations to dates to statements, was completely blacked out. Imagine looking at a government document where your trauma is hidden, but your name is fully exposed. One survivor showed a 302 form where 4 of the 7 pages were entirely blacked out except for her name. She called it sloppy, incompetent, and a betrayal. More than a dozen survivors released a joint statement saying the process re-traumatized them and protected their abusers. They described the release as transparency in reverse, exposing victims while leaving the men involved shrouded in secrecy. This failure is not theoretical. It's emotional. It's devastating. For survivors, this release was supposed to be a moment where the system that failed them finally delivered clarity. Instead, it delivered confusion, exposure, and fresh pain. Their stories were buried under layers of redactions while the names of men accused of enabling Epstein remained hidden. And that imbalance fuels one of the most explosive dynamics unfolding right now in Washington. Because this is the moment Bill Clinton stepped forward. House Republicans subpoenaed him and Hillary Clinton for closed-door testimony about their interactions with Epstein. This is an extraordinary move, but the Clintons' response was even more extraordinary. They refused, not politely, not cautiously. They accused the committee of designing a process intended to result in our imprisonment. That level of confrontation is rare. But then Clinton did something even more unusual. He went on offense. He called for the full, unredacted release of every remaining Epstein file, including anything involving him, Trump, or anyone else. This move wasn't emotional, it was strategic. By demanding total transparency, Clinton set a trap. If Trump, his political rival, pushes for full release, he risks his own exposure. If he resists, he looks like he's hiding something. Clinton turned the fight into a game of political chicken, daring Trump to either reveal everything or explain why he won't. And suddenly, what was supposed to be a document release became a high-stakes showdown between two former presidents, each holding pieces of a puzzle that could damage the other. Both men, according to the documents, were deeply embedded in Epstein's social circle. Flight records, event references, repeated interactions. Neither can credibly argue he barely knew Epstein. And yet, the DOJ maintains there is no criminal case against either one. No charges, no prosecutions. What remains is reputational damage, massive, enduring, and beyond anyone's ability to fully control. That's why the political tension right now feels like mutually assured destruction. If either side pushes too hard, they risk bringing themselves down in the process. What makes this moment even more volatile is the uncertainty surrounding how deeply the White House influenced the document release. Trump's Deputy Attorney General insists the administration had no involvement in the review or redaction process. Critics disagree. They argue that influence doesn't need to be explicit. In this administration, they say, people know what the president wants even when he doesn't say it out loud, and that subtle pressure, real or imagined, is enough to cast doubt on every missing page, every redacted line, every unexplained omission. But here's the part almost everyone is missing. This isn't about Epstein anymore. Not really. It's about control. Control over narrative, over exposure, over which names emerge and which stay buried. It's about who benefits from secrecy and who suffers when secrecy collapses. The powerful are using the release as a weapon, a shield, a bargaining chip, a threat. And the victims, the people who endured the actual harm, are watching the system turn their trauma into fuel for political warfare. Tonight, the truth is painfully clear. There are no arrests, no trials, no path to real accountability, just two former presidents and a circle of powerful figures daring each other to blink while the public is left to sift through millions of pages that say everything and nothing at the same time. The system protects itself not through clear answers but through ambiguity. When every actor has something to lose, no actor moves. It's stalemate disguised as transparency. And the strangest part? It's all happening in plain sight. Nothing is hidden. Nothing is whispered. The chaos is right there on the page. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support helps us dig deeper, connect the dots, and bring clarity to stories most people never see coming. Thank you for watching.